healthcare in total is a fairly isolated industry. In terms of the capital markets impact on us, ourselves along with kind of our peer group in healthcare, we're fortunate to have very strong balance sheets. We have a lot of cash. And so, from the financing standpoint, it's business as usual. I think the activity level has been kind of driven in the industry on a couple themes. One is, there has been a consolidation kind of movement in healthcare that's gone on for several years. I think that it has picked up primarily in large pharma to some extent because of valuations, but I wouldn't say that it's the primary cause. So, the theme of industry consolidations, scale, is certainly kind of picking up the activities. I think that, companies are looking at its cash position, and with the kind of dreadfully low returns on this cash, certainly the ideas coming forward in terms of deals making sense in this market, it has risen in terms of threshold levels. So I think that has generated some activities for the industry and certainly for us. On the theme of the capital markets, I will say that at least, our particular team, we've seen a lot of activities on what I would call kind of unplanned exits, either emerging companies, smaller companies that are directly affected by the capital markets that, when their options are limited, the M&A option has come forward, which, in the previous year wouldn't have been. So I do think and we've been part of a number of those types of what I would call the unplanned exits. And then I would say, from a risk balancing standpoint, at least for us, and I know our peer group has been much more involved in emerging markets, unlike other years. And we've done, transactions ex-US. We did one this summer in India. We just are in process of finishing up one in Europe, more on the consolidation mode. But clearly, as we look at the U.S. market and Western Europe, these markets in healthcare are slowing down. These emerging markets are actually accelerating. And I don't think healthcare is, the only industry that's looking at this. There is a much more increased effort in emerging markets for M&A activities.
Huh. Well, let's follow up on that emerging markets point, where I know Eli has a lot of experience, and IBM is pretty active.
Yeah. Well, we first started off with reorganizing the business model and essentially putting our growth, what we call our growth markets, or our non-developed markets. So I look at North America, Europe in one bucket, and then the rest of the world is in the growth markets unit, which is actually operated out of Shanghai. So our model is, and our belief is that the business models that are required to go and succeed and build markets and build channels in those markets is fundamentally different, and therefore so is M&A in those markets. And so we've essentially tried as much as possible to lower the center of gravity of decision making around hybrid structures or other M&A, so that we could be much more responsive. Now, as with everything else, there's qualification, right? And not every country in the growth markets is set up to do M&A or to do a joint venture or a minority investment. So we're very, very careful about that. But I think, again, the rate and the pace at which opportunities are coming in, and the way that either companies in those markets or governments in those markets are thinking about bringing in technology and capital and intellectual property, and making sure that, as a multinational, you're not only taking economic advantage of the opportunity there, but also contributing something to them, is something that is very prevalent in deal making out there. So I think we're still finding our way around what the optimal structures are in different situations and in different countries. But for the most part, I think we embrace the opportunity, and we think so long as we can be well managed and risk can be well accounted for, that we're willing to take those chances. So when you look at our pipeline, again, our pipeline is I think it's a good 30-35% growth market oriented.
Tell me more about lowering the center of gravity in the decision making.
I think that's essentially. I mean, I guess that's an IBM-ism. We're really cute at that, I think, sometimes. I guess it's essentially finding the right breakpoints that allow you to make some decisions in Shanghai for activities that are better understood there and where you need more real-time responsiveness and decision making, as opposed to having to come back to corporate and saying, hey, I need approval for X, Y, and Z, and let me walk you through why, all the nuances of the deal. So long as we feel comfortable, again, that the elements are in place for us to be able to do that, geography by geography, we will allow and enable certain activities to happen at a more local level. In those areas in those countries where we don't think that it's mature enough yet for that model to work, we would still adhere to kind of a more corporate-driven model, so to speak.